First United Methodist Church was actually the very first church in Paragould, Arkansas. It has about 800 members. The program Ready, Set, Read is a program designed for students that are going into kindergarten through going into the sixth grade. And then once they get out of the sixth grade and they're seventh through 12th graders, they're welcome to come back and volunteer for us. And the program is we're teaching kids to read. A lot of our kids, they don't have parents that read to them at home. And so we wanted to be able to expose them to books in their hands, being read to. A lot of our students, and we'll talk about this a little bit later too, a lot of our students are non-English speakers. And so we wanted to make sure that they're hearing the English language over the summer as well, so that we don't have that academic gap that you might otherwise see.
This all started with a Bible study called Outlive Your Life by Max Lucado. Our pastor at the time, John Fleming, was leading the study, and we just got into a discussion one night about some of the needs of our community and how our community has changed over the years, because a lot of us in there had grown up here. And so whenever we got ready to leave, I was a little sassy, and I just told the group, I said, okay, I said, I expect an essay on my desk first thing tomorrow morning with the answer to all of these problems. Or that Max Lucado asked is, what is it that keeps you up at night? And this had been something that I had been struggling with, how to help these kids. And so when Danielle had mentioned in her letter an idea for a reading program, a summer reading program. And so at that point I was like, oh my goodness, we're on the same page. And it just, started going from there. He recommended we approach our church council, and they approved it wholeheartedly. They were totally on board. And we just kind of went from there, and we began to brainstorm, okay, how do we reach kids? Where do we need to advertise? And how do we make all the logistics of it work out? The scheduling and what kind of curriculum are we going to have, that kind of thing. One of the ways that we reached out to students, Danielle, of course, contacted her ELL parents and invited them to the program. We advertised it like in our church bulletin for our church families so that their students could come as well. And we put flyers up like in our local library and some of the neighborhoods, especially some of the lower income neighborhoods. We would put flyers up. And the Witt House, we had information there for the clients and the mission.
We've made lots of connections. The first is obviously with the students, the kids that started with us in kindergarten, and now they are volunteers for us because they've graduated, I guess you could say, from Ready, Set, Read, and so now they actually get to be volunteers for us. We've made connections with teachers. We have 2 public school districts here in Paragould, and then we also have a private school. And so we have teachers from all of those that come and serve during Ready, Set, Read in various aspects. And so it's been neat because the kids get to see their teachers outside of the school walls, and the teachers get to have a completely different relationship with their kids, in church in these small group settings. We got some volunteers from our church that we were not expecting. And sometimes they don't necessarily want to work with the students one-on-one because they're not sure what to do, but they have such servant hearts that they want to feed the kids, or they want to play with the kids during the supervised activity time, or they want to just sit and read with a small group. And so that's been really, really amazing to see all of the volunteers in the church. Sometimes they volunteer, monetarily. They can't come because it's during the day, and so they give money, or they go and they do our grocery shopping for us. That's been very helpful because that's time that Angela and I don't have to spend. And then we've also been able to reach out to our community. And in the past, we've had firefighters, police officers, the mayor, we've had school administrators, the superintendents from, the school districts. And so just a lot of community leaders have come out as well, and they interact with the kids, they read to the kids. They show off their police cars, they show off the fire trucks. We've had EMS come, and the kids get to learn how to ask questions, of these community leaders. And so that's just been really neat. So the connection isn't anymore just within our church, but it's really bloomed and it's now out in the community as well. The Paragould School District is it's a low income school. We're more than 70% free and reduced lunch. And so all of our students get to eat breakfast and lunch for free. And so the last time that we were able to have Ready, Set, Read, our school district was able to provide breakfast and lunch for each of our students. Of course, there are state and some federal regulations with that. The food just has to go to the students. It can't feed any adults. It has to be transported in a certain way. But that is definitely an outlet that we were really, really thankful for, because food is expensive. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of low income students. We knew that transportation was going to have to take place. And so to do that, we use our church van. And one of our school resource officers was instrumental in helping create a route for all of the homes. And so we have myself, I drive the church van, and then I have a ride along. And then we have some of our volunteers who take their personal vehicles with a ride along. And we go and we pick the kids up. We go to their houses and we pick them up and we get them to Ready, Set, Read. And then at the end of the day, we get to take them home. And that's a really big part of it. One, if you have families that work or you have families that share a vehicle, then a lot of times that vehicle is with the person that's working. And so the kids wouldn't have a chance or a way to get to us otherwise. And so transportation, that was a deal breaker for us, if I'm being honest. We do have some that are able to make it here on their own, but if we couldn't provide transportation, our numbers would be significantly lower. The students that come, a lot of them are English as a second language students. That means they have a language other than English spoken in the home. But we also have other students who they're church members, and English is their native language. And so we have kids from all walks of life. And that's one thing that I think we really pride ourselves on, is our diversity. The world is very diverse. And so it's good for our kids to see that, because Paragould hasn't always been very diverse, and it is quickly changing and it's quickly growing. And so we want our kids to see that, and they need to know that the world doesn't necessarily look like what they see every day.
Ready, Set, Read, and it's kind of evolved over the years, and I think this is maybe our 10th year or close to it in doing this every summer. And when we first started out, we just did a couple of days a week over several weeks, and then we found that our students weren't as consistent with coming and that kind of thing. So then the next year we tried something different, and now we have figured out what works best for us is we usually meet for one full week, Monday through Friday, at the end of June. And that works out really well because it's, kind of in the middle of the summer when the kids could use a refresher. The very first year we did this, I think we had on average 18 students. And every year it has grown. And we thought that was fantastic. The first year we did this, we were so excited. Oh my gosh, 18 kids came to this. And I want to say maybe not our last year to do it, but the year before that, we had 90. And so it has grown tremendously, and we're so excited about that. A typical day for us, we've changed it up a little bit this year due to COVID. We're actually going to have 2 sessions, a morning session and then an afternoon, just so that we can have less kids and kind of space them out and that kind of thing. But typically our time would run from 9 to 1, and students arrive while we're waiting on everybody with transportation needs to get here. We do yoga, we do buddy reading, where they partner up with another volunteer. We start out with a shared reading, which is normally a story from the Bible. There's usually some type of theme, like we've done a superhero theme, or like Jesus is the best superhero, but then we'd have superheroes from our community come in and that kind of thing to tie it all together. And then after shared reading, we break up into grade levels or ability groups, depending on how they need to be separated. And then we'll have like a lead teacher and then another volunteer in there. And our youth are really great at volunteering and working and mentoring these kids. And so we'll do that until lunch. We have our lunch, then we have some playtime, and then we usually end the session or the day by coming back together. We'll do some kind of devotional. We have bucket filler time. And another book that we read is Have You Filled a Bucket Today, which we always kick the week off with that. And then as the week goes on, we ask students to fill out little slips of paper of how they filled someone's bucket, meaning, something good that they did for someone, or they could write down the way someone filled their bucket. And it's really neat to see them, some of them know each other, some of them don't, but as the week goes on, they get closer to our youth, they get closer to, other students, and even our volunteers will put notes in there about how the students have filled their buckets. And so we always end the day by sharing something like that, and then they go home. So that's a typical day.
We have students, church members, our students. We have kids that maybe they saw the flyer at their housing, their wherever they're living right now, or maybe they got it from the Witt House, or they were at the library and they saw it. And then a lot of our kids are my ESL students. So those are the students that have a language other than English spoken at home. And those are the ones that I personally am the most passionate about, just because Paragould hasn't always been super diverse. But in the last 7 to 8 years, we've had, African refugees moving in. We've had a large influx of Marshallese. We have a lot of Hispanics. And so we have a lot of different nationalities here. And I tell my own children, the world doesn't look like Paragould. I love Paragould, but the world doesn't look like this. And so for me to be able to have all of these students come in and see each other and just have that diversity right here in our own house, I love it. And so those are our students. They come from the Paragould School District. They come from Greene County Tech. They come from our private schools. And so it's not just one school district or another. It's all the kids in our community that, their parents are maybe just looking for them to have a little something to do over the summer, or I've beat on their door and said, you're coming to this program and it's going to be great, because that's certainly a big factor in it. But those are our kids. And so that's what our student population looks like.
And how we make sure, everyone's safe. So we're having 2 sessions a day. So we'll have, one I think is from 9 to 1. I can't remember the exact times of I have it on my calendar, but I can't remember. And then we'll have an afternoon session, and just to kind of keep some spacing. Of course, we'll have masks in place, that kind of thing. And then another challenge for us was just the fact that we've sat out a year, and so just thinking, okay, has this ran its course? Are we still making a difference? Is this something we still need to continue to do? Are we going to have volunteers? Are we going to have students? And that's something too that we kind of always think about now that this has gone on. Is this something that God is still wanting us to do? Or do we need to, maybe shift in a different direction? And then we always come together and we always get excited. And I have to also give credit to our Reverend Chase Burns, who has worked really closely with us, and he's brought a new energy level to it that we needed to. So I'm excited now to see where it leads us in the future, as far as the impact that I've seen that it's had on the church, and also, on myself as a follower of Christ. And is one thing I think our volunteers have kind of realized, and I've realized this myself, is that you don't have to do some great, big, momentous, miraculous thing to help change the world. You can start right where you are. And I think a lot of our volunteers see that I don't have an education degree, but I can still make a difference in the life of this child. And, I may not have, be able to go to a third world country to help out, but I can help people right where I'm at. And so seeing that has made me realize that to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, it doesn't have to be something huge. You just start where you are and just try to make a difference. And far as my faith and everything, I feel like it's definitely deepened my relationship with Christ because, when we started this, we had to rely a lot on prayer and faith because, we just, it came up spur of the moment and then we just ran with it. And then that kind of happens every year. Can we replicate this or what can we do to keep this going or to make this stronger? And we really do have to depend on God to get us through it. And so, you know, God calls us to love our neighbors, and I just feel like that this kind of has helped me realize that, it's okay. I'm a teacher, but I can give up a week in my summer to make a difference. It's yeah, it hurts sometimes to spend some extra time planning, but oh my goodness, the blessings that we get out of it far outweigh anything that I'm giving up.
For people that are maybe thinking, oh my gosh, by the time summer gets here, I'm so tired, I don't want to do it. I would just say to pray about it because you will absolutely be able to do it with Christ's help. And that's what it all boils down to.